Okay. My camera is a mess right now. What's happening? Hey everybody, my name is Kendra Eris and welcome to our book club. We are reading Shawn Achor, Shawn Achor's book, Big Potential. And so this is a book on leadership, and we are just in the first chapters 1 and 2. So I'm just going to go over a few of the amazing takeaways that some of the group shared, because I think this is kind of like these first 2 chapters are really just the setup to the rest of the book, and to kind of give us a really good introduction to what has gone on, or what brought him here to begin with. So the biggest takeaway for me was how I'm raising my kids. And I guess this also goes to how I'm like raising my team, or raising myself as a leader of a team. And, we've always been given the idea that I remember my dad saying, he who makes the gold makes the rules, or things about people that are, the king of the hill, like the top dog, the person with the bestest and the mostest and the fastest gets more. And, that's kind of how we were raised, and we raise our kids to be stronger and faster, whether it's in sports, to be better in school. When we have them do their homework, it's a very isolated experience. And in fact, like, I remember my daughter got into some trouble last year. And if you're just jumping on, feel free to jump in. We're going to have some discussion on this in just a minute. But I noticed when last year my daughter got into some trouble at school. She was in 6th grade, and she got in trouble because she was doing homework in a group, which they were allowed to do the homework in a group, but they weren't really taught how to do group homework, and they ended up copying from each other, and then they weren't allowed to study in a group again. And I was all for how that went down, because I was like, no, you have to do your own homework. You can't rely on other people. Like, that's not how the world works. But like, in reality, that is how the world works. In real life, in our grown-up situations, we very much do need other people in order for us to all go up. Like, if we need help with something, we bring people in to collaborate with us or to help us with things. It's not so much of a dog-eat-dog world, and it really shouldn't be, because we know, like, it's not fun, right? So anyway, I realized how disempowering some of my the way that I've been raising my kids, and the way that I've been having them do things like homework, and it's having me rethink things to, I don't know what it's going to look like. And I think the rest of the book is going to help with that. He told some amazing stories. Robyn Crowley shared that she had a commission-based hair salon, and and hairdressers got paid, like whoever did the most and sold the most and, did the most volume got paid the most. And, she said somebody that she has, a younger person that she has recently hired, was like, how can I just learn from everyone? How can we all benefit from each other? Everybody has something to teach me. And she was really taken aback by that, and thinking, like, maybe this way that we've been taught that the person that does the most gets the most. Aaron Sukup shared some amazing things in the chat about takeaways. And Kathy Schwartz, who's on the call tonight, maybe she can unmute here in a second and share and expand on this a little bit more. And I would love that if you would, Kathy. You don't have to if you're allowed, just, no big deal, or if you're in a loud place or something. But I would love it if you would. You had said that it was making you realize that you needed to ask for help, that you were brought up in a competitive environment where you had to work alone, and that you're excited to break the habit. So can you expand on that a little more? I see you got yourself unmuted. Thank you.
I did. I figured out how to unmute myself. Normally I do this on my laptop, but I was running late. So here I am on my phone.
Same.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you great.
Okay, good. Okay. So, I guess what I meant by that is that, yes, I was brought up, I went to 12 years of Catholic school, very strict. There was, God forbid you did something really in a group. It was, very much an individual way to do it, because then they would think you were cheating.
Yes, that's what I've done with my own kids.
Yeah, they would think you were cheating, that didn't have your own individual ideas, that that it just, there was really no such form of collaboration. And I think that for all those years, it put such stress on and pressure on me to always feel like, well, I have to do it my way. And like, I can see what everyone else is doing, but I have to figure out how to do it my way, like reinvent the wheel, basically. And I've realized, from now my time at Lime Life and definitely this book and Shawn as a speaker, is that, I win, we all win so much more by collaborating and asking for help. And it's just a thing that at this point in my life, teaching myself to be like, okay, you know what? I don't have it. I don't know what I'm doing. I need help. But like, that was a hard thing to start to learn how to figure out, to say, I have no idea what I'm doing and I need help, without feeling like some sort of a failure.
Yes. Like, Misty had posted, we spend the first 22 years of our lives being judged and praised for our individual attributes and what we can achieve alone, when for the rest of our life, our successes are almost entirely interconnected with that of others. And they really are. I mean, you think about like CEOs or very highly successful people, even like athletes or people that are successful in business or whatever they have going on, like they're not ever doing it alone. There's always people there helping them. And so I think we've been, it was just really eye-opening when he put this in words and explained it. And of course, I loved the story. I've listened to the book 3 times now, or I'm on my 3rd time now. And the story of him streaking through the Harvard yard has me in stitches every time. I'm like, oh my gosh, because you can picture it, and no, you would never even think like, and you can hear his personality if you're listening, and I'm sure you can gather if you're not. But the whole him, you just know the only reason he went out there to do it was because collectively as a group it was okay. And I think there's a lot more we would do collectively as a group if we knew it were okay. And, when we get inspired by other people, that's really what they're doing. They're helping us to, make a potentially scary choice. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. And I mean, basically, I think this first 2 chapters are really just setting the rest of the book up. The next chapters are systematically going through ways that you can plug this stuff into your life, which is great. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this book club was because I wanted to slow down and go through it and really like take my time and do some real like plugging this stuff into my life. The whole book, I swear, is completely quotable, and a lot of people shared their favorite quotes, and I'm excited to, I think when something really stands out to me, I think it's awesome, but hearing what stood out to other people has also been good. But I think the just collectively is that we're all really being moved by the fact that we all go up together, and how he gets into this later in the book about how being like you are the people that you surround yourself with. Right. And he really takes that beyond just who you are physically with in your real life, but also who you spend your time with on social media. And I've spent some time kind of watching, you can start to tell the people on social media that are, in a lot of like groups where there's a lot of negativity, or they are, they're just kind of combative all the time. And they're talking about how they're always like social media is draining on their souls. And I'm like, man, it really doesn't drain on my soul, but I think it's because I'm not spending time in negative space. So he talks a lot more about that. And I think my favorite quote was, "We know that achieving our highest potential is not survival of the fittest, it's survival of the best fit." And that being comfortable in our surroundings is really important. So I think that's the key of it, is really at this point of the book, accepting the fact that maybe we have been doing it wrong all these years, which sucks, because you're like, man, if I could go back and redo it and be really happy about doing things together more collectively. It's real. This is our first day of back to school with my kids, and it really has me thinking about ways that I can do better with helping them. And my one daughter's in 7th grade, and she's got a real schedule this year now. She's got confirmation, and she has volleyball, and she'll be in cheerleading later, and she has homework in her instrument, and all these things that kind of all have to align. This is the first year she's had something going on almost every day after school. I think every day after school she has something going on for the first couple of months, and we've not ever had to manage a schedule like that. So my approach in the past has been, if this is important to you, then you need to figure it out. My approach now is well, let's see how we can figure this out together as a family or together as a group, because I don't survive in my real adult world by doing it all on my own. I have things, systems in place to help me. So why wouldn't I help her with that? So I don't know, do you have anything else? I see Debbie has popped on. Hey, Debbie, if anybody has anything else they'd like to share with these first 2 chapters, I would love to hear them. And please feel free to unmute yourself and share that. But if you don't want to, that's okay too. And you don't have to come on camera for sure. Susan Johnson had posted almost every attribute of your potential, from intelligence to creativity to leadership, which I love that, because to me, that puts the same amount of importance on creativity and intelligence and leadership as if they're all equally important, and that it's all interconnected with other people. So to thrive physically, emotionally, and spiritually, we need to change our pursuit of potential the same way we need to change our pursuit of happiness. We need to stop trying to be faster alone and start working on becoming stronger together. She works in the medical industry, and I think about people that do those kind of things for a living. They could never really do it all alone, right? Especially in medical emergencies and things like that. And what if we were all trying a little harder to, trying just a little bit harder to come together like people would in a medical situation? I thought that was neat. And then I guess the last thing I want to share before we break off today is, I've been training for this half Ironman, and, trying to manage my schedule and my training schedule and work schedule and life and, kids and all these other things. And I have really I had a race this past weekend, and watching the camaraderie on the field, people doing little things to help each other out, or to not get in each other's way, or to and not necessarily push themselves to the front. So you're going to have that in every group, obviously, but I think it's really helped me. Reading this book has really helped me to see the big potential in other people, and how much it makes them feel good to help somebody else out. Somebody crashed their bike right in front of me, and I stopped and, asked her if she was okay, and she miraculously was. It looked worse than it was, and I hope everything is still okay. I hope that adrenaline just didn't help her through that. But I saw her several more times on the course, and, asked her again, are you okay? And I related to an embarrassing, I'm sure she was super embarrassed, but it's something that it had happened to me similar. And I was I just know it happens to everybody, and man, you're going to have a good story to tell now. And after the race, she found me. We just happened to be crossing each other's paths, and she was like, thanks for checking up on me so many times. It really made me feel better that somebody cared. And I was like, man, just a little thing saying, are you okay, really helped her to feel better about her race. And then she told me more about her race and her journey, and I thought that was awesome. So anyway, thank you guys, everybody, for participating. I think next week will be a longer session, because we'll be going on to now chapter 3. So it's about an hour read, and I will let you guys know. I can double check the name of this chapter here really fast. I will let you guys know if we need to take 2 weeks for this. I'm not 100% sure, but my thought is we'll do a chapter a week, but we may need a second week for implementation's sake. I'm not really 100% sure on that. So chapter 3 is surround yourself with positive influencers. So that's what we're going to read during this next week. It's 57 minutes and 37 seconds. And it talks about basically what I spoke about earlier, the power of surrounding yourself with positivity and what happens when you surround yourself with negativity. And the coolest thing is he shares some great research about how negative influences can really take over our lives, like little small negative influences can really take over our entire lives. And I think one of the things that this reminded me of was, so like, for example, you know, most of us in this group are in direct sales. We do something, post something, or do a video, or share part of our journeys, or, you know, talk to people about it. And we have plenty of people that support us, and there's people that don't. And the one thing that has always been very curious to me is I could have 20 people say good job, or I loved that, or that was amazing, and one person have something sour or negative to say, and I will focus on that one piece of negative feedback. I will focus on it. I will obsess over it. I will like think that that's the end all be all. And this chapter dives into that psychology and why we do that and how to change that psychology. So this was a really great chapter for me, and I'm excited to dive back into it live with you guys. So
I am muted for 1 second just to
please.
say that I agree with you 100%. It could be the same thing. 20 people could say, great job. It's that one person and that one comment. And you, like, for weeks, it could be stuck in my head.
Yes.
And you just don't forget it. Why is that? That drives
he talks about it in this chapter, and it's great. The other thing that we do that, and then we turn it into the everybody syndrome. We'll be like, well, everybody's saying that they don't like this. And really, like, we project everybody on, like, one person says, we're like, oh my gosh, everybody must think I'm crazy. Because one person, like, our evidence tells us that most people are supportive. But when one person doesn't, our brains tell us, oh, everybody's out to get us now. And it's
so true.
Yeah. And he talks about the psychology of it. And I think the thing I like about this author and other authors like him is that it's not just fluff coming my direction. It's the research-based stuff and the numbers that he's able to put with it. I think it just, like, solidifies in my brain that it's not just like a bunch of woo-woo coming my way. Because I think we are really, like, surrounded with, I have such an issue with, we're surrounded with a lot of, like, mindset work and, you know, being okay with ourselves and being good and having a positive outlook. But we're not surrounded with a lot of ways to implement those things in our lives, you know?
True.
And that's, I mean, I think that, like, all that intention is great, but without the power to do it, to follow through, to make it happen, and it's not easy to know how. So anyway, I'm excited about this chapter. Debbie, hello, I can see you. Thanks for popping on. And I will have all of the posts here up shortly between tonight and tomorrow morning, so we can start diving into this chapter and start sharing. And I want to say thank you for giving me some grace last night. We just got home far too late for me to do the live, and I was getting ready to do it. My husband was like, Kendra, you can't even have a conversation right now. Why are you trying to do this live, do this Zoom? And I'm like, well, you know, I really want to stick with my integrity. He's like, well, I think people will understand you were busy. It's okay. So thank you for the grace on that.
Yes.
All right. Well, I will see you guys later. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, Kendra.
Yes. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.